Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. This story is from Throwback from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and it says, am I the arsehole for not paying for my stepbrother's tuition? First version exceeded character limit, so I had to cut this short. This is a throwaway and I'm on mobile. 9 years ago when I, 26 female, was 17 and my brother, 19 male, was 10. Our mother died after suffering for a long time due to chronic illness. Long story short, I got severe depression and my dad remarried within a year. I got along with my stepmother and my stepbrother, 18 male, quite well. My dad kicked me out on my 18th birthday and my boyfriend took me in. I put myself through 4.5 years of college by having an almost full-time job. After graduation, I landed a managing job with insanely good salary and was able to pay the rest of my college debt and save a decent amount. My brother is my everything since he is all the family I have left. August 2019, he told me our dad is kicking him out, and my boyfriend and I took him in to live with us on 3 conditions: stay out of trouble, do some minor chores, keep up the good grades. He followed these rules and even got a part-time job to help out with groceries. He and I had no contact with our dad the whole time, just occasionally with our stepbrother, who we consider a friend. When he started college last summer, I said I would pay for it if he continues following the rules. He did, and I paid. I'm incredibly proud of him because he's getting only A's and doing really good. Somehow dad, stepbrother and stepmother found out I was paying. Stepbrother is going to start college this summer and they can't afford it without taking on a huge debt. So stepmother called and asked, point blank, if I would pay for stepbrother too. I said no. I'm happy to pay for my brother, but I won't for my stepbrother. Since then, 4 days ago, this whole side of the family, including aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, etc., are calling me an ass for playing favorites. And I'm going crazy over it because they won't stop after multiple no's. Am I the arsehole? Edit: to answer if stepbrother still lives with them. Yes, he does. He turned 18 mid-November 2020. Edit 2: the family calling me out now are all from my dad or my stepmother. My mother has no family left. Also, I reached out to them after I got kicked out, but they never answered. It's the first time they're reaching out to me. The absolute cheek of these people. Your dad kicks you out at 18, does the same to your brother, so you took care of yourself and your brother, worked your ass off through college, and now, you're being amazing by funding your brother's education at the same time. And now suddenly they found out about your money and they're all crawling out of the woodwork to demand money from you. As I said, cheeky bastards. You're not playing favorites in this situation, you're taking care of your brother, who your father abandoned. And no hate against stepbrother in this situation. He might be a great kid, but his parents are still in his life. He still lives with them. Quite simply not your responsibility, never was and never will be. And it's always typical of people like this in the situation that the rest of the family piles on in at the same time, and it's just absolutely gross. Just block them and move on. The first commenter says, not the arsehole, some nerve to toss you and your brother out the moment you turn 18. And turn around to ask you to support the other kid they don't want to bother with. Daddy dearest is a piece of work from the sound of it. Another commenter says, not the arsehole. Call him out for kicking you and your brother out and ask why this parenting suddenly showed up for your stepbrother. If your dad says shit again, tell him he should have been more frugal with his savings when his dumbass decided to have 2 kids and pick up a third, and be enough of a bum to not affording sending a single one to college. Also, it's your money, not theirs. Your family is going to bitch and moan unless you cut their shit from the get-go. I mean, really drive it in how little you care about their opinion and how they have no say since they weren't this outspoken when you got kicked out. Side note, I was in a similar situation and had nobody there to help me. So reading this made me really feel for you, OP. Proud of you and hope you and your brother succeed with everything you do. Wind River says, not the arsehole. They have a record of kicking you and your brother out of the family home. I suggest that your father and stepfather save themselves a bundle of money and kick out the stepson, since he is now 18 years old. How ridiculous that they expect someone they kicked out of their lives should finance the education of someone that they kept at home. Look at how much money that they saved over the years by throwing out teenagers at the age of 18. Not your problem that they failed to save $1 for stepbrother's education. And one more comment from Sour Lemons, who says, not the arsehole. What's with all the people in this world thinking they're entitled to other people's money? I honestly cannot wrap my head around it. Sounds like you lived with stepbrother for less than a year before being kicked out. If you're not as close to him as your brother, your dad only has himself to thank for that. It's only natural that you might favor your brother over your stepbrother. Also sounds like stepbrother hasn't gotten kicked out yet and his parents are at least willing, if not able, to support him. There's also nothing stopping him from doing what you did, getting a job and supporting himself. Where were all these family members when you got kicked out at 18 and had nowhere to go? Why don't they all chip in and pay for stepbrother's tuition if they're so concerned? So, it wasn't too long after that OP came in with an update and first said, thank you all for the comments and the awards. A few hours after I posted this, I started to dig because I was wondering how they found out I was paying for my brother, since no one apart from me, my boyfriend, my brother, and my bank agent know. Turns out a friend of my stepmother works in the administration office of the college, and she told my stepmother I was paying. I went furious as this is a clear violation of confidential information, and I'm currently working with my lawyer to sue her for this. Now onto the real issue. Shortly after I posted, I reread the texts I got from my extended family. To me, they seemed off. Something was irritating me and I figured out what exactly. It was the way they accused me and blamed me that ticked it off. So I called in a Zoom meeting. It turns out that when my father kicked me out, they told them it was my choice to run away, and he is disappointed by his child. Told the same story about my brother when he kicked him out too. That's why they never reached out to me. However, they had 9 years to do anything, and they never did, so they're out of my life. I blocked them and don't want to hear from them again. As to my father, stepmother, and stepbrother, called me again and again and again. I continued to say no, and after learning they lied to everyone, I didn't bother to answer their calls again. I blocked them after that. My brother and I decided to completely go no contact with everyone from now on. I'm a bit sad that I won't be able to talk to my stepbrother. Like I said, we had a quite good relationship like friends, but he supported and agreed with my dad and stepmother's way of talking to me, so I see no point in investing time in this relationship. Yes, he was also just interested in money, or he would have acted otherwise. They tried to blame me that I'm responsible if my stepbrother doesn't get a good job. I just don't care. I had to manage it myself and they didn't give a damn, so I'm not going to give in. My brother and boyfriend and I are moving in another city 45 minutes away next week anyways. Planned for months now, so it has nothing to do with this. So I won't be likely to bump into them. We lived in the same city until now, and even though it's fairly big there was always a chance of bumping into each other. I don't think they know it and I'm not planning to tell them. If they find out, I don't care. To me, they don't exist from now on, and my boyfriend, my brother and I will continue to live together as our little family. Also because some people asked, my boyfriend has a big family, but they live on the other side of the world, so only I have seen them twice in the 10 years we are together. Again, thank you so much for all your kind words. Edit to answer a few questions. I'm not in the US. There is no family left on my mother's side. I had the chance to tell my extended family what really happened, but apart from 2 people, they didn't believe me. Maybe I will reconcile with my stepbrother sometime in the future, but right now I'm not in the right mind to do so. My brother and I are already in the process of completely cutting off my father, and we're creating wills and medical POCs, is it power of attorneys maybe, in case something happens. It just takes some time, but my lawyer is working on it. The top commenter said to this one, I think I'm most disappointed to hear that your stepbrother, whom you considered a friend, if not quite family, was behaving just as entitled as dad and stepmom. Very glad to hear that you're moving your new little family away from all this drama. Purple replied to that saying, yeah, but you have to wonder what her parents told him. I mean, if they told the entire family that she and her brother ran away, they could have easily told the stepbrother that she had promised them she'd pay for it and is now backing out. I'm glad you're pursuing a case against a friend of your stepmom. That is outrageous. And, you know, both of those comments rang true for me, and I felt the same way. I was disappointed in the stepbrother because, like OP said, he was apparently a friend at one point, but seems to be acting just as entitled. But then the other commenter was right as well. Who knows what he's been told at the same time? You know, if these people are that entitled to approach OP to ask for a huge chunk of money like that after everything they've done, who knows what else they're capable of, right? Absolutely right though for OP to just be blocking all of them and getting them out of their lives. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Returning Darkness and says, am I the arsehole here for wanting nothing to do with my kids and ex-wife after 2 years of false allegations? And before we do get into this story, there is some trigger warnings on it of mentions of rape, possible sexual abuse, accusations of abuse, and just general mental health struggles. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description, and let's crack on with it. It starts. Last year, my kids, 9 female and 7 male, ran away late at night / early in the morning. When found by some city officials, they claimed I kicked them out of the house. I woke up the morning of to the cops and CPS knocking on the door. I told my side of the story from what I knew, and they had my now ex-wife tell her side while keeping us separated. The cops claim our stories don't match and end up arresting me. I bail myself out that same day and go live with my parents for a while. I'm dealing with court, scared that I'm going back to jail or prison and that I'll lose my job that I'd only been at for a year. A little over a month goes by and I get a phone call to have a meeting with the CPS woman in charge of our case. My daughter ended up making more allegations against me that did not make sense to the CPS people, and when they asked her questions, she was unable to give them answers. My son ended up breaking first and admitted the whole thing was made up and that my daughter was the one to orchestrate everything. This reveal led to the charges being dropped and my daughter getting counseling and psychiatric help. For a while I thought things were good. We're on our way to fix things. I kept trying to get all of us into therapy, both individual and family. I was already in therapy due to this whole situation anyway. My ex kept dragging her feet and it never went anywhere. After some other situations with being displaced due to a natural disaster and me trying to get things packed up in our old apartment, I got told by my ex she wants a divorce, so now I'm having to rush and trying to find a place to live, which I did luckily. I actually move in tomorrow. On the 14th of June, I get served an emergency protection order by the county sheriff's office. I'm told it's because I have allegedly hit my son and gave him a concussion while in the grocery store, where there are cameras. I had been taken to the emergency room by my ex on the 14th, but this event allegedly happened on the 10th. I told my ex that due to me having to get this house to rent, along with utilities in my name, adding up to over $2,000, that I wasn't going to be able to pay certain bills this month, but that I'd get them caught up as soon as I can to get everything paid off and even. I signed for the deposit on the 11th, and the kids had been with her while I did this paperwork, and there was no issue. On the same morning, I'd taken my kids to the park so they could play and recorded videos of them being silly and having fun. I was talking to my therapist this week and I told her what was going on and how I felt about being around my ex or the children. It's 2 years in a row of false allegations. I want nothing to do with any of them now. I'll pay child support gladly. I had an agreement with my ex before this all happened of paying $1,000 a month, $500 per paycheck for child support. After all this, am I the arsehole for not wanting to be around the children and my ex after everything gets settled and found out to be lies again? OP added in the comments some additional information and said, I posted this before I clocked in at work, so let me give some more details. My ex-wife and I were still together when the kids ran away last year. My side of the story during that was that I came home from work, talked with the kids and wife, gave the kids their melatonin gummies before sending them to bed. After which I took a shower before making me something for dinner and cleaning up afterwards. By this point my ex was asleep already, and so were the kids. When CPS and the mental health professionals were talking to my daughter after everything got cleared, she was saying the voices she was hearing were telling her to do things. The mental health professional said this sounded too rehearsed to them. It later got revealed that she was watching videos on YouTube about kids pranking their parents and she wanted to try it out herself. She had access to YouTube due to tablets that my mother-in-law had given the kids for Christmas back in 2023, which I disagree with, but I was ignored. At the time and to this day, I do not believe my ex had a hand in the running away situation. On to this year. My son went to the ER on the 14th because he had, and I quote from the paperwork, I was given dizziness, lightheaded feeling, and a nosebleed. I'm not sure how he received a concussion. Nothing is finished with this situation yet, and nothing has been decided in terms of child support. We go back to court next month to revisit this after the investigation is finished. On the day I received the EPO, I talked to a state trooper and told him the kid's history. Showed the videos of my kids playing and showed receipts on my banking app from when we were at Walmart and at what time we were there. As of right now, I haven't heard anything else. I've already been interviewed by CPS and informed them of the same things I told the state trooper because it is a different person on the case as my ex and kids live in a different country at the moment. This time, I firmly believe that my ex is behind this due to my telling her some of the bills would have to wait because I'm having to pay approximately $2,500 to move, put down deposits, and pay first and last month's rent. I haven't seen my kids since I dropped them off to my grandparents on the afternoon of the 11th. I've not made a decision about staying away from my kids, but I do plan on talking to a lawyer in the next couple of days. I'm looking into security for my house and a discreet body camera to wear like many other users have said. I try to answer any questions that I can, but I move tomorrow and I have some last minute things to pack up and place in my car and move downstairs. Thank you for all your insights and words and thoughts and prayers. It means a whole lot to me that I can't put into words. Someone says to OP, "Are your kids biological?" And OP says, "Well, considering they look like I just clicked copy and paste." Someone says, "Did something happen at the grocery store that caused the son to have a concussion?" OP says nothing happened at the grocery store is the thing. We went in, picked up some sweet tea and ramen, and then left. I mean, I ain't got too much to say on this at the moment in time, but it definitely feels like manipulation or parental alienation along those lines at the moment. But it was around a month later that OP came in with an update and says, "So I have an update, along with answering some questions better from my previous post. When I first posted this, I was not in a good headspace and I realized that I wasn't very clear. To be honest, I'm still not in a good headspace, but it's a little bit better. For starters, these false allegations started last year when my kids were 9 and 7. When I said 2 years, I meant calendar years. When I said I spoke to the police about my side of the story last year, I meant what happened the night before the police and CPS showed up at the front door. I'd gotten home, spent some time with the kids and my ex, then wife, before giving the kids their melatonin gummies. This was done on an as-needed basis, mainly 2 to 3 times a week at most. After that, I went and took a shower, made myself some dinner, then ate and cleaned up the kitchen before spending more time with my then wife before we both went to bed. Due to the contraction happening when she was being given the epidural, she sleeps better propped up, so she slept on the couch while myself and the kids slept upstairs. The next morning is when I woke up to the cops at the door with CPS. I was charged with child abandonment and arrested. It took over a month for the truth to come out about my kids making this up due to the fact my daughter was saying I was having sex with her. The CPS agent conducted the investigation, tried to ask more details, and that's when my daughter started crying and admitted she made it up because she couldn't give details. The only reason my daughter even knew what sex was is because my ex and I were in the bedroom, and we both thought the other locked the door and my daughter walked in on us. Moving to now. I don't know how my son got this supposed concussion. I'd court again on Monday the 21st, and when the judge asked her, she told him that, after talking with the state trooper who had decided to not press criminal charges. I asked the judge if there was any evidence that they had about what they're claiming I did, and he told me that since no charges were filed, there's no evidence gathered to give to me. I want to thank everyone for their answers on my last post. Thinking about those feelings was making me sick to my stomach, and I just needed some perspectives from people who weren't emotionally involved. I thought about this since last month, and I made the decision to tell the judge I want the divorce process and this EPO to be over and done with, and that I just want to be left alone. I'm still questioning if this was the right decision or not. I'm just not sure what else I could do. I work 12 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. I have no way to take care of the kids, so I can't take them in. Even then, Am I supposed to get to the point where the court system says supervised visits aren't needed anymore and just start wearing a body camera around the kids and just be scared all the time, looking over my shoulder constantly just to make sure that I'm not going to end up in jail again? We have a hearing set up for December to hopefully get everything finalized and finished. I keep thinking about the kids going trick-or-treating in 3 months, going back to school next month, how we won't be decorating the Christmas trees together or making cookies for Santa, and I start crying all over again. I'm not sure what else I could have done though that wouldn't have made me a paranoid mess 24/7. This will be the last update until December or January, I guess. Thank you again for everyone saying I wasn't an arsehole for feeling this way. Have a good one, Reddit. Someone asked OP, did the ex explain why she wanted the divorce? OP says, her words was that she isn't in love with me anymore, and we've both become too different. She's religious, I'm not. Both have different views on things that we can't come to an agreement on. After last year, I wanted us to get into therapy and got some recommendations for marriage counselors and gave her the list and said that I'd be fine with whoever she chose, so as long as we worked on it. She never chose anyone and kept making excuses about why every time I asked. Someone says your daughter lied about you raping her, among many other allegations, and she says that she was motivated to behave the way that she did after she apparently watched a YouTube prank video. There is more to this story than your daughter is letting on. Either your ex-wife has coached your daughter well, or your daughter is incredibly manipulative at a very young age. OP replies saying, everything I know I included. I'm dead certain there's stuff I don't know about like you said. Another commenter says, if you don't mind the question, in your previous post you mentioned how you were arrested because the cops claimed you and your wife's stories didn't match. Did you find out why they weren't the same, and why your wife wasn't arrested as well? Sorry you're going through this, OP. OP says, no, I didn't. I have the police report, but all it says is, when asked if she believes he's capable of this, she answered, I don't know. I don't think so, so I don't want to think about it. Someone says, did the daughter's tablets from mother-in-law have parental controls? OP says she apparently somehow found a way to get past it from what I know about it. Like I mentioned in a different comment, I told everything that I know about the situation from my end. And one more commenter says that he needs to get his kids in therapy, especially his daughter and himself. OP says I agree about both, and luckily I'm in therapy already. I've been in therapy since August and September of last year. Bloody hell. I don't even know what to say in that situation. What do you do in something like this? There's many questions below about what's going on, but obviously OP's said they're not going to be updating until December at least. But for now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Today I Messed Up subreddit from StrongOrange3721. It says, today I fucked up by having the cops called on me for losing my shit at my roommates for eating my cake. I came back from work on Friday with a small cake that a co-worker who I'm friends with baked for me. It was my birthday last week, but she was on leave and had promised to bake me a cake for my birthday. I usually would have shared something like cake, but I didn't want to because my roommates are constantly eating my food without asking. My leftovers, oatmeal, eggs, milk, bread, like they just help themselves to anything like I'm a fucking grocery store. I'm not even sure which roommate it is because I haven't caught anyone in the act. I've spoken to them calmly multiple times, but all of them denied it. Anyway, I just cut a small slice of my cake for myself and put the rest in the fridge. I made it a point to tell all of my roommates that the cake in the fridge belongs to me and please don't touch it. Later that night I woke up and decided to go get myself another slice and found half the cake gone. I'm usually a calm and rational person, but I just completely lost it because it felt like a fuck you to me. It was in the AMs, but I knocked on all their doors and yelled at them to come out. I told them that I'm not going anywhere until whoever ate my cake owns up to it. And I'm going to kick his ass because it's probably the same arsehole who won't stop eating my food despite me asking them multiple times to stop. I was bluffing because I've never actually kicked anyone's ass, and I was hoping no one took me up on it. I was just angry. I kept ranting loudly and how fed up I was with their thieving. But only one of them came out. He told me it wasn't him, but there was no need for me to act like this over cake, which just pissed me off more. Eventually the cops came. Apparently a neighbor had complained about the noise. The other roommates only came out then. The cops just basically told us to behave and keep it down and left. For a second there, I was really worried. The last thing I need to do is be arrested over cake. Hell no, if there's ever a reason to be arrested for something, it's definitely cake. I'm just kidding, of course, but Tremenda says I've been in your shoes or at least similar ones. It's maddening when roommates act like they own everything in the fridge. Why do they think they can just help themselves? Another commenter says the utter disregard and disrespect is what it is for me. They know it's wrong, but there's never any consequences, so they do it anyways. Sadly, you're going to have to move out. A tiny studio would be 10 times better than living with any roommate as far as I'm concerned. In the meantime, definitely get a mini fridge and lock your room and door, but also leave a laxative surprise in some of the food in the fridge in the meantime. Eating up someone's food and leftovers is bad, but stealing up someone's birthday cake is straight up evil. It's hard enough being poor and living with roommates, and trying to budget and eat a decent meal, while navigating life, but then constantly coming home to fucking nothing when you know you should have food waiting for you is a special level of rage. OP says true, it's very disrespectful, and continue doing it even when I had multiple heart-to-hearts explaining just how bad all this is affecting me and putting me in a worse position. How low can you go? I will definitely get a used mini fridge when I can afford to. Unfortunately, I can't afford to move out. It's just out of the question right now, and the leftovers that they eat without a second thought are my weekly meals that I prep beforehand. I have PTSD just thinking about that cake. I didn't even buy cake on my actual birthday, so it was a nice treat. That really hits home. It is true that it's hard enough budgeting carefully, stretching and counting every cent just so you can survive, and you have people like this having no regard for what you are going through and simply don't care, even after you have told them. And there was lots of people saying what they would do in this situation, people talking about ghost chilies, people talking about, some kind of stuff that might dye their mouth, laxative brownies, all that kind of stuff, the usual stuff we see in these stories. People suggesting getting cameras put up, etc. But the absolute audacity to do that to someone after they've explicitly been asked, please don't eat that cake, to go and do it anyway. It's absolute arseholes. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me, so thank you so much. And don't forget, at the very end of the video, there'll be a couple of playlists there that you can click on, and it will automatically scroll through all those videos for you. So whatever you're up to, it will just continue to do so. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, and much love.